One of my closest friends and I took a 9,000-mile road trip around the USA, Mexico, and Canada. This is episode 6 in that crazy story, so stick around. Let's get into it. Roll that intro. Hi all, Keith here. Welcome to the video. Before we go much further, make sure you pause the video, click that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. If you didn't see the last episode, I'll go ahead and link it up here. Maybe watch that one and come back to this one. But just a quick recap. In the last episode, I told you about our crazy experience crossing the US-Mexico border. Took you to Roswell so we could find some aliens. And took you to beautiful San Antonio, Texas to see the Alamo. Where I last left you, Phil and I were in Houston, Texas looking for someplace to stay. It was late, so we were looking for someplace cheap. And boy, did we find a doozy. So the hotel that we found had a sign out front and it said $20 room rates. And we're like, $20 room rates? That's what we're talking about. That was the first sign we missed, but there was others. Now this place wasn't a like go into the lobby, check in and grab yourself a snack and head to the room kind of place. No. You literally had to walk up to a window with like plexiglass and like a little hole to like talk to the person. And the guy behind the counter was a little bit grumpy, but maybe it was because it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. But he looks at Phil, he looks at me and goes, "Can I help you?" We asked for a room and he said, "Do you want to pay for the night or do you want to pay by the hour?" Yeah, it was one of those type of hotels, if you know what I mean. That should have been maybe the second red flag, but we just kept going. And we told him we wanted a room for the night. The first thing that hit me was the smell when we opened up the door. It was like dirty, wet, musty. I don't know. It was disgusting. Very disgusting. And then we took the first step into the room and like literally the carpet squished. You could hear like if you step on a sponge or step on a wet thing, you know, it makes that squishing sound. Yeah, that's what the carpet did. But there was an AC unit over off to the side and it looked like it was probably leaking and that was where it was coming from. We hoped. Anyway, while I was checking out the room, Phil went into the bathroom. And he was like, "Oh my gosh." And I went in there and I was like, "What?" And he said, "Look at the sink." And I looked in the sink and not only was it like filthy dirty, but there was like blood splatter in the sink. Like they hadn't cleaned it. Oh, it was disgusting. It was at this point that we realized that maybe we made a mistake and maybe we shouldn't be staying here. But it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. So we thought, well, what are we going to do? Let's just give it a shot. We did, however, not bring all of our stuff into the room because it was filthy dirty. All we brought in was like a change of clothes and like our toothbrush and stuff like that to get ready. Because we didn't want our luggage sitting around in there. Who knows what we would have got into the luggage. Oh. Anyway, by this point I was just like ready to give up. So we went and I peeled back the sheets of the bed because I didn't want to like sleep on the comforter or anything. And surprisingly, the sheets underneath looked clean, and they felt clean. There's no weirdness going on there. But when I got into the bed started like tilting. It went bloop, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I popped up real fast, and the bed was on like an old school bed frame, and it looked like it was bent for some odd reason. But anyway, it was about that time that I heard another, like, "Oh my gosh," from Phil from the bathroom. And I went in there and there was like what appeared to be like blood splatter on the wall. I don't know what it was, but it was disgusting and disturbing. I mean, I don't know what happened in this room or what had happened in this room, but we slept with our clothes on top of the one flat sheet. It was a time. The next morning we went out and there were some like unsavory types. It looked like they were smoking something, if you know what I mean, right outside the hotel. And they were just like staring at us like, we know what you two did in this dirty hotel last night. I don't know. We couldn't get out of there fast enough. We hopped in the car and drove on out. What an experience that was. After that, we headed off to New Orleans. The Big Easy is a great town full of great food and wonderful people. We parked somewhere in the French Quarter. We headed to Cafe Du Monde and we tried some beignets and some coffee. Amazing. We took a bus tour of the city and we even made it to Bourbon Street. I will say that Bourbon Street has a storied history of debauchery, and you can see that on the bars and just different types of places that line Bourbon Street. I mean, we had this interesting encounter with a guy while walking down the street. He asked me and Phil to do something, how do I say this? Naughty, while he watched, and he would pay us. Oh, it was interesting to say the least, but we passed and kept on walking. One thing about New Orleans is the food, right? You gotta try some gumbo or jambalaya when you're there. Well, we found this place that had gumbo and jambalaya, so we went on in. Now, one thing I noticed about a lot of places down in New Orleans was that there wasn't like a lot of AC in these older buildings. It was usually like windows open and or doors open type of places down there. So it was kind of hot inside the building for sure. Now, while we were standing there in line trying to get our food, I noticed the person that was like over the like jambalaya and gumbo area and that type of thing was sweating profusely. Like, it was so bad. And like every time he would reach over the pot, like a little bit of sweat would like drip off of his arm into the jambalaya or the gumbo, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because there was a lot of people in there, I tried to get Phil's attention on the DL and be like, like, look at that guy. I didn't say it, I was just like, like, and he sort of like looked at me like, and I don't know that he got it. I don't think he did, because when we got up there, what did he order? I think it was the jambalaya. Anyway, when we got to the table, I mean, I thought that he had seen it, and I didn't say anything, but he was like eating away and saying how good it was. And then about halfway through, I was eating my shrimp po' boy that I had, and I was just like, did you not see that guy dripping his sweat into the jambalaya? And he was like, oh my gosh, sorry Phil, I thought you knew. Anyway, outside of a few weird things that happened to us in New Orleans, we had a great time. After New Orleans, we headed off to Tallahassee, Florida, to Florida State University. We were going there because Phil's cousin or his friend was actually going to that school. Now, I can't remember if we stopped between New Orleans and Florida State University because it's been like 18 years, so forgive me, but I do remember that I was driving on I-10 and the rain was pouring down. It was like the kind of rain that was like causing ponding and like little rivers to run across the road and everything. And I don't remember driving too fast, but I remember I hit like a big old puddle and we started to like go sideways in hydroplane. And being from Indiana, I've had some experience with hydroplaning, so luckily I knew not to slam on the brakes or keep the gas down, just let off the gas and the car righted itself. But that was like a scary experience, like in the middle of I-10 with cars all around you to start like going a little bit sideways was slightly scary. But we did end up making it to Tallahassee and to Florida State University to meet Phil's friend, cousin. I think it was cousin, so we'll go with cousin. I remember we ate at this barbecue place and then headed back to the frat house. Now, I didn't realize until we got there that Phil's cousin was like in this frat house. I'd never been to a frat house before, so it was kind of an experience. I just remember everyone was super nice there. But after the night before in like Houston and all this driving and everything, I was like absolutely wiped out. And all I wanted to do was sleep. So while they were having like a little party or a thing upstairs, I was like, I just need to go to bed, and they took me downstairs, and there was this giant sectional in this room, and I just like lay down, and as soon as everyone left, I was just like out. The next thing I honestly remember was waking up, and Phil was on the other end of the couch sleeping, and it was like the next day. Anyway, we had a little bite to eat, and headed on to our next destination, which was one of my favorite southern towns, even though I didn't know it quite yet. I'm going to end it right here, but make sure you come back next week so you can find out what city cast a spell on me. Make sure you hang out just a little bit longer because we'll have some end cards with some video suggestions, and we'd love it if you'd watch another video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Click the join button down there below to find out all the benefits of becoming a member of our YouTube family here. If you want a little less commitment but still want to support the channel, head over to our Ko-fi page. It's just a way for you to drop us like a virtual tip. Any way you choose to support the channel, we really appreciate it. Alright everyone, we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace and love.